So if we do see Murlocs coming onto the field, man, I'm so glad that I got the Murloc Master with me today because you're going to be very invaluable for the insight there. But we are going to jump into the draft, ladies and gentlemen. So sorry for the delay, but it is ready to go. So once again, Eclipse and Lzuruha Gaming. It looks like Eclipse is actually going to get the first round of pick, and they will also get the ban of Illidan right off the bat.
Yeah, Illidan's a hero that you see banned often. Pretty strong to build around, especially if you want to get supports, and double support is something that hangs around a lot. So if you ban out Illidan, you kind of get rid of that auto attack, kind of all-any type of play that can happen. So that's happening for Eclipse, and then the follow-up with Lzuruha went with Tyrande ban. So first pick here, Rhaegar, strong pickup.
Yeah, I've been doing a whole bunch of EU casting, and it really is very different in terms of what we actually ban on this side of the pond, what they do in terms of a first pick. And coming back into this as a Rhaegar first pick, I haven't seen this in almost 24 hours now. So it's really good to see it back here on this side of things. But I'm going to bring up, this is something we've noticed as a trend over the last few days. There's 5 very powerful first pick potential ladies in Heroes of the Storm. Sylvanas, who I'm still thinking we're going to see. The Tyrande, who's already been banned out. There's the first pick, Jaina for Lzuruha, Zagara, and Vala. Mark my words, we're going to see all 5 of those represented here in this draft today.
Sure, totally. I'm looking forward to it, man. We cannot wait for it. Rhaegar by itself, by the way, is just really good on Crystalla. I kind of want to point that out. But Lzuruha moving straight over to Jaina and Diablo, it looks like. So the Dibbles action is here. And Diablo just great for those pick comps, so we'll have to see what exactly they're wanting to plan up for. But if you can get a nice engage with Diablo and then follow up into any type of CC, man, you can burst people down really quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah, Diablo has really risen as a tank. A few patches ago, you wouldn't have seen him anywhere, but today he is amongst those first pick potentials. And, you know, it's a little bit of a shame. Cursed Hollow used to be so big for Stitches. We used to see the body block combos of Arthas and Anubarak, but these days it's pretty much the ETC and the Diablo going back and forth.
Yeah, both pretty strong warriors. They have the potential to cause a lot of displacements. For the most part, EDC is more mobile, but Diablo's more of just like, here, my imposing will is on top of you, man. You have to do it wherever I put you, which is cool. A nice little mechanic to have on your team. Looking straight over to Crystalla, the Eclipse, they're grabbing Tassadar. I'm wondering who the third pick will be. I'm looking for some kind of damage maybe here. Because Lzuruha most likely won't pick another warrior, so it's fine to get something here that's going to be more beneficial to your team, because you can pick up a warrior later, like Stitches.
I'm just going to go back. Vala, Zagara.
There it is. You're right.
Vala, Zagara, Sylvanas, still a lot of potential there on the board. But the Eclipse is actually setting up, I want to say, to pick up a melee after this.
Yeah, definitely, man. You want to have something. And I think you're right about Stitches. I mean, he's still available, and he's great on Crystalla, so that might be their pickup, like a 4th or 5th pick. But looking over to Lzuruha, they've got... looks like we're going to be having Zagara. Nice. So there you go. Jester's right, guys. We're seeing those heroes floating around. Zagara is great on this map. Usually you can force a 3v1 scenario in the bottom lane, as most Zagaras will go down there to start beating down on the turrets. So if you can get a lot of aggression on one side of the map, you can totally have free will of getting experience in the other lanes. So nice pickup here for Lzuruha, as they'll have a nice amount of damage, of course.
Yeah, it's a very strong back line, a lot of consistent damage coming out of them. They are going to need a healer here, though, Lzuruha. And if you have to guess anybody from our choices, we really do have a big favoritism towards Uther these days, especially on the NI side of things. You might actually see like solo heal Malfurions out in the EU, but I really do suspect it to be an Uther.
All right, we'll see if they'll pick it up. And I don't know if you noticed, but I don't think the draft is showing up on the live stream. Maybe if you can check and make sure it's happening. Oh my gosh.
It's 2 minutes delayed, bro.
Ah, fair enough. Lzuruha is going straight into the Vikings here. So they will have to get a healer for the 5th pick on the next round of picks. But I like the pick of the Vikings because, as we were assuming, Stitches will be the hero that Eclipse will probably pick up here as a warrior. And the Vikings naturally are just great against Stitches because if one of them get hooked, it's whatever. It's only a quarter of experience, and your team can still fight. So I like that pick.
It's an absolutely huge pick these days. The soak potential, the Viking boat, and even without that Viking boat, because we have so many of those backline DPS now in these games, Vikings as like a rushdown tactic can absolutely zerg out somebody and really kind of zone them out of the fight. They get low, they pop into the boat, use that second hit point bar to kind of get a bit more to safety while still pushing people out of the fights. So Nick Hotz 100% says that this is the strongest pick in the game right now.
The Vikings or ATC?
The Vikings. Yeah, ETC is the counter here from Eclipse, but it's totally about the Viking hype right now.
Vikings are very, very powerful. And the thing is only a number of players can play them well. So I'm pretty excited to see how Lzuruha can handle those guys and how exactly they'll play them. Because I feel like they have a couple of styles that really anyone can play. It's just a matter of what style you want to choose. But ETC was a counterpick for Eclipse, so they finally get that beefy, tanky warrior. I'm looking at them, and I feel like they could utilize a little bit more damage here. So I'm wondering what they might pick up. A support is potentially possible as well. They could steal Uther away from Lzuruha if they wanted to.
They could, but that would be a triple support, and
they would. We've seen it though. We've seen it before.
But against this kind of lineup here from Lzuruha, I mean, they have huge bursts that can go right through all three healers, and there's just not enough pre-10 to kind of mitigate that. So, yeah.
I forgot Sylvanas is available.
The 5 ladies, man.
The Banshee Queen up in here. Okay, all right, sick. I'm down with that. Get some silencing arrows up in the mix. See what can happen. All right, so looking over Lzuruha, what is it gonna be the counter pick? Jester, what do you think, man?
I'm still very much in love with the Uther pick here.
Yeah,
you're gonna have the stuns. You're gonna have the flash of lights. Level 20 has the redemption, and it's just an overall good pick. If it's not gonna be that, it's gonna be a solo heal Malfurion, but we just don't really see that much on this side of the pond.
Yeah, Malfurion would maybe make a little sense because you can get some solid roots, but oh my gosh, they're actually going straight into Brightwing. Brightwing,
all right,
can be pretty strong against ETC, as ETC kind of maybe has to overextend a couple times here and there to get the full engagement, and if the team isn't fully on point, you can kind of get a burst down on top of them, or even just cancel out a mosh. But and then of course you have the added benefit of kind of soaking in a different lane and phase shifting in, but I don't know. I think I agree with you that Uther may have been a little bit better for them. They have some potential wombo combo potential with the Divine Storm into Jaina damage, but Brightwing can work here.
All right, so we're going to try to get Trixler into our game, and then we're going to be getting this one going right out, sir. But with that, with the Brightwing, there's no real heavy CC available here to Lzuruha. That's what I'm a little bit more afraid of. We've seen repeatedly roaming comps with Tyrandas, with Diablos, with Jainas, but a lot of that also comes into the Uther stuns. We do have Polymorph, but that's not really a hard CC. It's just going to stop you from channeling. It won't stop you from actually moving around. So I am a little afraid in that regard from Lzuruha. We do have some pretty solid roots and CCs available to Eclipse. So when it comes to controlling a lot of these fights, if we don't burst down somebody, I just suspect we're going to see a little bit more of a tug of war and ebb and flow, and no real big lockdowns. That's just what I'm afraid of here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, all 10 players are ready to go. It looks like we'll be going straight into Cursed Hollow. I'm excited. Let's do it. A lot of players that are kind of making their way through the NA scene. Let's see who can pull it off and go to the next round.
Now, again, I have seen both these teams before in some of the more amateur tournaments. We used to have the community nights on ESL, the Heroes Hype amateur tournaments. Definitely had Lzuruha gaming the last time I was watching it as well. Yeah, we're ready, guys. We don't need to... Yep, good luck, have fun. All right, I told them to go anyways, but it's always good to confirm. Either way, you know, it's really fun. It's really fun to see some of the more upcoming talent into this. I mean, we don't really have a lot of those big names here today, so it's going to be who are the rising stars of this tournament.
Yeah, totally agree, and these guys could totally be it as well. I know, I believe this is the team that was requesting that they get casted as well, so their parents could watch, right? Because
that was Team Luxury and Lunatic, and then CS Steve has stepped in and said, you guys got to play. So we are not going to jump into them straight away. We might actually just go into the Goon Squad. We're going to have to look at the brackets afterwards. But yeah, sorry, Luxury. That's on me.
Well, regardless, good luck, Luxury. Nonetheless, finally in a Cursed Hollow. You know the rules. Get the tributes, curse your opponents, go from there. Pretty easy mode. What comes down to this type of battleground, my favorite part is the strategy that's always happening on the other side of the map. Usually there's a tribute maybe down the bottom side, but I'm always curious as to what's happening on the top side and how teams are kind of fluctuating and being flexible. So here we go. Map's finally loading up. Jester, I'm so pumped to cast with you, man. We haven't done a cast before. I don't think.
No, you're a very busy guy. What can I say?
Oh man, you're busy too, dude. Working on that Heroes Fire all day, every day.
Oh man, it's really taken a good chunk out of my social life. I'll tell you that.
All right, man. Well, here we go. On the very far left side, we have the blue team. We have, oh my god, Colin on Zagara, Spearback on Dibbles. We got Jano on Pirate Rum, and then of course we have the Vikings from Escaping Jail. And last but not least, I believe that is Mild on Brightwing. Mold, maybe something.
Yeah, made. With an I.
Made.
Yep.
Just kidding. All right.
All good, sir. On the flip side, though, their opponents are going to be Eclipse, I believe. Yeah. Yep, Eclipse Gaming here going to be on the right-hand side. So Technic, CGGG. All right. Jim, we're just going to call him CG. D Money looking to hold down the mid, and Azure Fire there into the bottom lane. So what are we likely to see here with the Vikings? I know that you definitely have a lot of experience with the Vikings. What do you expect to see at this early game, Mr. Tim?
It looks like the entire team for the blue team on the left are putting 4 members in the top lane. They want to kind of counter out that Sylvanas. Diablo actually going for the aggression here is going to miss his combo, but you can see the real amount of strength they want to put on this lane. You don't want to have Sylvanas beating down your turret. And so putting 4 members here and having only 2 Vikings soaking in the middle lane and of course the bottom lane is totally nice. Escaping jail has to be super passive and make sure you get all the experience here so they can really benefit from this.
Yeah, and with the 4-man push, I mean, that is absolutely going to counter out that Sylvanas. She might be able to do some really good pushing, but not when she's on the defense. The problem is that, you know, the Vikings are kind of left to their own devices. ETC, you can see D Money already bringing Escaping Jail low, and that Olaf is not going to be able to put up a fight against the Tassadar. So we need to strike fast and true here from Lzuruha Gaming if they want to kind of make this pick work.
Alright, so some floating around, and again, all the action is going to be in the top lane. I'm going to keep an eye on ETC and Tassadar on the mini-map, but for the most part, we'll be staying up here in the top lane for a little bit. Potential for the kill potential is from Diablo. We're going to watch him a lot and see if he can land anything. It looks like ETC was actually able to secure a kill on Balog in the middle, but only a slight experience gap there.
Yeah, the ETC is just a really good counter to any of the combinations of those Vikings. Not only does he have the self-heal, but he can just close that distance. If you're not paying attention, guess what? There's going to be some auto attacks in your face, and later on with the echo pedal, with his guitar solo, he is just going to be able to walk all over them. And you can already see, you know, this 4-man push is really stalling in the top. Lzuruha still has yet to even take one of these towers.
Yeah, they really are trying their best, and it looks like they might slowly but surely finally get that turret on the bottom side there. But yeah, for the most part, the red team has done a pretty good job here for only having 3 members, and Sylvanas, who by the way doesn't really do that much burst damage, is able to hold us off. It has been, you know, kudos to them. Well done. A 4v3 situation is always hard to deal with, and if you're able to kind of stall things out and make it to the early to mid game without losing too much from Zagara, you're always in a great position. So well done.
So in terms of, like, they're not losing too much, but Lzuruha at the same time is not really gaining the gains that you're going to be looking for. We got so many pings there into the mid because, again, D Money is just trying to punish out these Vikings. Bottom, not really getting the work done. Top is finally starting to yield a few results. That'll catch them up in the experience. But, oh, I mean, you kind of expect a 4-man collapse this early on to kind of do a little bit more quicker here.
Oh, lucky for the blue team, the tribute actually spawns at the top side of the map where a majority of their members already are. And the Vikings here are going to keep up the pressure. You see the 2 of them in the middle pushing as hard as they can. We have Olaf in the bottom lane doing Olaf things, eating donuts to get experience. Diablo does get picked off though by the red team. Nicely done. However, they traded Paula as well. And the red team overall, with a solid team fight, may be able to steal this tribute.
Yeah, I think so. The introduction of D Money into the top really did shift it right. Wow, so close. Jim not actually able to complete that channel, and it will just still be that tribute up for contention. We do have ETC kind of abandoning the top fight. He does need to go back to the lane to soak, otherwise they will be giving up too much experience for that one tribute. It's still going to be a bit of a poke and soak game up into this top. The problem from Red is they don't have anything to fall back to with that gate now down.
Yeah, they're starting to slowly lose a little bit in terms of their map control. Sylvanas does throw down her Banshees, and she's going to be able to escape. Nice juke overall there from Jim. But again, the blue team wanting to keep the aggression on. And, you know, this is the power of the Vikings that we were mentioning earlier. We saw a really strong play from the red team. They were able to secure a kill pretty early on. We're potentially going to get that tribute. But ETC, as you mentioned, had to go to the middle lane to defend against that. Oh, gosh, Rhaegar finally getting picked off.
Yeah, the
he needs to be
polymorph
careful.
Huge right there.
Yeah, he needs to be careful against Diablo because he's the only one in this lane that doesn't have instant mobility to get away with like a Bolt or an E. Yes, he can go straight into Wolf form, but that's not going to give him a jump in any way, shape, or form. So if Diablo jumps on him, it's going to be almost an instant kill every time.
Yeah, speaking of the jump, the Vikings are going to jump to safety as Sylvanas into the top lane is actually going to go down once more. The CC, I said that, you know, I'm a little concerned about the lack of CC, but the soft the soft crowd control has actually done a lot of work so far for Lzuruha. They have continually pushed into this top, but now the tribute is bottom. So are we going to see a mass migration? So far, yes. They could probably actually just leave Made into this top. Oh, they're faking it.
Ooh, smart play here. Nice use of teamwork. Blizzard goes down. There goes a throwback from Spearback and an instant kill immediately from the blue team. And you know what? They can afford to give up a tribute here, and they're going to. He just sees Snuck all the way down there. He's grabbing it. The Vikings are keeping up the pressure in the middle lane. But the blue team securing that kill allows them to keep the pressure up on this top 4. And finally, with Colin going back and getting a little bit more mana, potentially with Zagara, they could totally break this down before they hit level 10.
And level 10 is right around the corner for them. They've just hit 9. They're about a half level above their opponents in terms of the collected experience. Wow, Colin actually did take a heck of a burst right there. But this top fort is not looking very healthy, Mr. Tim. It has its days numbered at this point because under half hit points just before third tribute, that's a very powerful amount of experience that we could actually catapult now into 10.
Well, we've had the side story of the main story of the top lane of constantly this blue team pushing it down, putting down the creep, using his Zagara. But Tassadar in the bottom lane has been able to establish 2 towers. He's killed them off. It's given his teammates a little bit of experience, but just not quite enough, as we now will have the blue team securing level 10, and they should all beeline down to this tribute. They totally have it on lock if they could get there because they have their heroic abilities.
And will it actually be the chase here from Eclipse? Because last time they did this, that party bush, they did not do them any favors, and the Rhaegar went down too sweet. Unfortunately, it does not look like they're going to chance that. It does look like Eclipse is just going to sack this and go for some return damage so they can get 10 themselves.
Yeah, that's a smart play here. Never force a team fight that you don't have to take. Their opponents only had 1 tribute, so allowing them to have it only gives them a 2nd tribute. And you have Sylvanas, man. You can push like crazy once she actually gets to a turret wall, and we just saw it. 2 turrets being killed off, especially with the added damage of Vala. And so they were able to secure level 10, which means now, next team fight, they'll effectively be on even footing.
Yeah, all that hard work has now almost been equalized.
The missed arrow.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to jump right here on top of Jim. Here comes the stage dive as well, but Rhaegar, he has Jim in the palm of his hand. He's going to be surviving that gank. Made is now going to come out, but it's going to be the Emerald win before the reset. Will Made still actually get out of this one? We do got Jaina trying to do the work, but at the same time, we have so much range damage between the Sylvanas and that Vala, that they're able to just really push back that gank, and they actually come out ahead in terms of Eclipse Gaming.
Yeah, nicely done. D-Money on point. They're really making the money there with the stage dive, jumping in and helping secure a teammate, or helping secure a kill. Spearback, though, wants to go in. He charges straight into ETC. Brightwing, though, a little out of position here, as Made's going to be forced to retreat. But overall, the blue team has the better positioning here to grab this tribute. All they have to do is set up correctly, zone out their opponents, and allow the Vikings to grab this bad boy.
Ooh, the Vikings actually are just marching in place because Olaf down south was dueling out with Tassadar. Got out with an inch of his life. But there's no contest on this third tribute, and that is going to be the first curse over to Lzuruha, and now they're going to be trying to do what they can because essentially everything is now hit by the Sylvanas passive.
All right. Blue team wanting to put some pressure here. However, Diablo a little bit on the low side in terms of health, so he's got to be careful before he dives in too much. Between Sylvanas and Vala and the potential silence, he could really be killed off really quickly. Tassadar, by the way, has been pushing the bottom lane the entire time. Would like to see him eventually migrate his way to his teammates. I know he wants to get that fort killed off, but eventually his teammates are going to need the help in the team fight.
Yeah, Azurfire has been really putting this bottom lane on lockdown. It's a big reason why we're actually very much even on that experience. But now with this curse, I mean, multiple gates have now been taken out. The pressure mid was real. That's not looking like a very healthy lane. And this bottom is starting to actually see some big counter pushing here from Lzuruha. That being said, we still only have 10 seconds left on this curse. There's virtually no Merc pressure on the field at all. We do got some pings now going down towards the Siege Golems. We also got the Grave Golem. Looking very pretty right there. And Made, I gotta say, at level 1, he actually did pick up the scouting drone, and he's been using it time and time again just to try to, look for these key scouting places. If he puts down 1 here, I suspect we're gonna go for the Grave.
Oh yeah, definitely, I agree with that. And that's kind of the reasons why a lot of people are picking up Brightwing lately, just because of that scouting drone alone. It got buffed in the last patch, and it's pretty helpful overall, especially on maps like Season of Spider Queen, and as being shown here on Cursed Hall, you can definitely do a lot with it. Tassadar now retreating, as he was jumped on by Diablo. I think he popped his E a little bit too early there, but better safe than sorry. Overall, though, that curse from the blue team, I feel like not too much happened. They already lost the fort in the top lane. The red team did a good job of defending the mid lane and the bottom lane. They took a little bit of damage on their infrastructure, but for the most part, nice defense.
Yeah, the defense did hold well. Here comes the stage dive into the bottom lane. We do got a Zurfire ready to go. Jim is there as well. The big target is going to be OMG Colin, but he's getting out of that skin of his teeth. We do got the combo. There's the Maw into the Apocalypse, and 1 and 2 punches now going to be coming down, and that's 2 dead teammates here for Eclipse. We did lose out Zagara there into the back, but now a Zurfire has to run from this Viking boat. I'm not too sure he has enough in the tank to survive it. Actually, we're going to change targets, and the Mortar will take down Vala instead. Looks like Tassadar will live to see another day, but this bottom fort and tower will not.
Jester, you can't run from the boat there, and that was on display by the Vikings. Well done there by escaping jail, and they should run straight to the golem here and even start the boss if they would like, and it looks like it. Really, that entire team fight fell down to Sylvanas being a little bit out of position. She came from the top left corner to really land a willing arrow, and it did hit a few members, but the problem is she was right next to Diablo, and once the CC and the displacement just started hitting down Sylvanas, you saw that team fight really crumble even more, especially with the Great Devouring Maw from Zagara. So nice job by the blue team, but the red team, Sylvanas in particular, needs to be a little bit more careful with their positioning.
The positioning game is definitely going to be very important when it comes to this. We have so many ways to kind of just bring those squishies into line. I mean, the blizzards, the slows, Jaina can be ridiculous when it comes to just helping create those positioning. Diablo throwing people over his shoulder with the overpower. And then, you know, we have the polymorphs, the Maws. I mean, we saw the Wombo come out. OMG Colin throws down the Maw, and then immediately we have the Apocalypse ready to go. The 1-2 punch was real, and Eclipse just started falling, especially after that was, you know, so well executed here from Lzuruha.
Agreed, Jester. Well, both teams are going to elect to go ahead and grab their golems. Fortunately for the blue team, the tribute spawned in the top corner, so they were able to go ahead and grab that tribute. So they have one more now on the scoreboard here. So it is 1-1 in terms of tributes for both teams. And now it's a matter of the grouping up and trying to figure out where you want to push your advantages. Luckily for the red team, they can split push pretty nicely because they have that ETC, so I'd put him in the top lane as that lane has the most pressure, especially after Sylvanas steals to the bottom lane. And from there, you guys, they need to get to 16. Getting to 16 is the name of the game, and luckily for the blue team, they're already there.
Yeah, the 16 talents are going to come out strong. We've been seeing actually this a lot on Diablos. Firestorm or Fire Devil. It actually seems to be a difference in regional preference, but we're not really seeing a lot of imposing presences these days.
Yeah, interesting choice on the imposing presence. I guess a lot of people are just kind of figuring out that, you know what, if you just ignore Diablo, you can't really get procced by the imposing presence. So we've already seen that in teamfights. Actually, Diablo just kind of like dives in, done his combo, but for the most part, the red team is just straight up ignoring him. So what's the point of picking up a talent when you can get something to put a little bit more damage on your opponents? Tribute though, now up in the bottom right. Blue team is already in position here. The red team's gonna try and sneak around, but it'd be a little bit too late. And now blue team has 2 out of 3 tributes.
Yeah, they are going to be threatening a curse on the next one, which means it's going to be very important to fight next time. But it does look like Lzuruha wants to fight right now.
Colin a little bit too forward there. Gets poked off immediately. Nice stage dive from D-Money. Here comes the Apocalypse, though, hitting 3 members and killing off a Vala. Zurfire in trouble as well, trying to use that Void Kit to get out of here. Jim doing some nice cutting overall, and the blue team going for the aggression. The Vikings in the front, and finally Tednik is going to fall. It looks like, no! Okay, there he goes, finally. He tried to get into wolf form, but unfortunately the wolf could not save him on this day.
The wolf form with that feral lunge at the end of it was actually the big key factor that did take down Olaf. But still, you don't want to trade a full hero for a Viking. That is not a worthwhile trade, my friend. I think Technic was kind of too far into it at the time, so he did go down fighting, which is a great mentality. But at the same time, yeah, it's still 2 full deaths on the side of Eclipse, whereas it's only the quarter kill going the way of Lzuruha. Problem is that this map positioning is not going to be favoring Eclipse, and there's the second curse.
All right, now, well, blue team going to be grouping up a little bit here. I think they can afford to have Brightwing stay in the top lane mate, so keep that pressure up, but it looks like they're going to elect to go ahead and stay a little bit together. They have 2 heroes on their team that are pretty good at kind of split pushing no matter what, so maybe it makes more sense to keep Brightwing near her teammates. That way she can use that polymorph in. We can send a Viking into a different lane, but all together, blue team now heading down to the middle. Red team is forced to defend this. Relatively, we are on equal footing, so it all comes down to the engagement.
Yeah, and the engagement so far is looking pretty solid here from Lzuruha. They are pushing in. They have now the Bruisers to be joining them. And the escaping jail goes right on top of D-Money. That's not exactly where he wants to be. Sverbeck now actually looking a little bit worse for wear in the back of it. Here comes the boat, but it's going to be counted out by that strafe. Brightwing is now going to be dead in the water, and I don't think Jaina's going to get out of this one. She throws down the improved ice block, but 1 and 2, almost simultaneous deaths between her and Zagara. Sverbeck will be the surviving member, and we do got those 3 Vikings now on the run as well, but that engage could have went a lot better.
Oh, it certainly could have. The first thing in that fight, Jester, is Vala got off like full strafe. She waited until the Vikings actually used their longbow, burned through it immediately there, and 2 members fell pretty darn quickly. Brightwing first going away prevented any type of disruption because Diablo wasn't in a position to actually use a combo to get rid of that strafe, and we had no polymorph from Brightwing, so Vala's got off so much damage so quickly. Jim did some solid damage as well with this Q, and from there, if you can just win a team fight with this type of team comp, you can totally take that advantage and press it, and we saw it. So nice job by the red team. Blue team needs to make sure that they're on point when it comes to disrupting those type of heroics.
And something else also to look at, level 16, we do got the Critterize as expected, but once more, with that Firestorm coming in, Spurbeck's going to be looking to do some damage, but nothing really can actually compare to the triple blood for blood that we have for Eclipse.
Oh my gosh, triple blood for blood can be incredibly good, especially if you guys are on point. And when you're on a team, you should be on point with using that all in one hero to kind of burst them down quickly. But the blue team now finally is back into a potential where they can get into a fight. If I were them, I would love to get into a fight before we hit level 20. We don't want the red team to grab level 20 and get their storm powers before us, because of course we'll be at a small disadvantage. The golem is being grabbed though here in the bottom left. The red team is sniffing it out. They're trying to find a way to potentially show up and get into a fight here, but the positioning is going to be everything, and Jim is out of position.
Yeah, Jim's going to be the big target. Great Ancestral there from Technic. Keeps Jim in this fight, but that cannot say the same for Tastar. That's even going to be right through his Precious and his Dimensional Warp. Jaina, however, is left too far forward. She's now going to be going down. Spurbeck with the combo, but he doesn't really time it out. Doesn't matter. Escaping Joe is there with that cleanup, but not before Zagar is about to drop. Brightwing dies off camera, and Escaping Joe in that boat is looking to now escape Joe himself, because 1 and 2, 3, they're going to be zooming on out of that one, but I'm not entirely too sure we're going to have 2 survivors, let alone 3.
Oh, Diablo going to show up and help out here, and Diablo can put a decent amount of damage in with his combo, but unfortunately with the auto attacks can't finish off the Sylvanas. Nice bolt overall, and now we're going to have the red team starting to grab this golem immediately here, starting to poke it down. Diablo helping in any way or shape or form he can. Overall, though, I don't think the Vikings / Diablo can take this away from the red team. I feel like they're in a dominant position, especially with ETC being here. Oh my gosh, nice combo. That was cute. Oh my gosh. We'll see if they'll be able to disrupt this, but I don't see it happening.
No, they might be able to delay it, a few seconds, but they're not going to really be able to get onto that point, I feel. Spurbeck does, however, manage to put himself on top of very square, but Escaping Joe is just not going to be the beefy hero that he needs to be to stay on that. We had the healing ward go down. The face melt, I thought, was just going to be enough to keep him off from that, but as it turns out, another kill. Diablo does not have the souls this time. He will have the full death counter, and this is actually superior positioning now. For Eclipse, they pick up their 2nd tribute, and they're now threatening their 1st curse.
All right, Eclipse looking great here, grabbing another golem in the top right corner. Now for the blue team, how do you come back in the situation? And for me, I think they need to be a little bit more careful, a little bit more calm in team fights. We've seen the last 2 team fights, they tried to get off their Devouring Maw into Apocalypse combo, but they're just not hitting on all cylinders. The engines aren't running completely well here. We seem to be off 1 or 2 seconds, and every time that's happened, we've seen them completely get wrecked in a team fight. So for the next team fight, take a breather, get level 20, and make sure you're on point, because you want to make sure that combo hits. If it doesn't, your team comp kind of falls off a little bit.
Yeah, the big important part there is, as you said, get 20, take it easy. It's not going to be the end of the world, but it will be the end of your world if you try to engage when you do not have those storm tier talents. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the movement here is going to be dictated because there's a Grave Golem now marching down this top lane, and this is just, again, fantastic timing and positioning here from Eclipse, because the 3rd tribute is up. You can see Eric is the only one stopping D-Money from picking this up, and D-Money's getting really frustrated about it.
Eric, so brave. Come on, Eric, you got this little guy. He could totally keep poking it down a little bit here. Finally, he's being forced to pull away, but at least he looks great in that skin. Overall, though, finally the golem was picked up in the top left corner, and now the main goal for the blue team here is to try and maybe only lose 1 keep. You're going to lose something here just because there's so much good pressure on the map. So try and defend against all the lanes and potentially keep 2 of your keeps up. That way you have some kind of pressure, and you can kind of deal with 1 lane of catapults pretty easily as long as you keep rotating correctly. So watch for them to be very defensive here, and make sure to only cut a certain amount of losses, which is potentially only 1 lane.
Well, if you do a full-fledged defense, you might actually be able to even keep up all those keeps. So you might.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
But at this point, I mean, we still have 30 seconds left on the clock, and Sylvanas, you know, she'll be able to come into this very quickly. But I mean, during the curse, her passive is, well, not really that effective because everything is already now permanently disabled. But, you know, again, Lzuruha, they might be on the back foot here in terms of this late game race. They did just hit 20, though. They have the Storm Tier Town, and they're pretty much now stuck on defense. So as long as they can keep up a reasonable front line, we got 13 seconds until the keeps come back online, and I don't see any of them going down.
All right, ATC's in the bottom lane here, just waiting for an opportunity potentially where he could stage dive in. And with the wall being killed off, potentially the red team could go in for a fight. We're going to watch for ETC to potentially stage dive in at any point. Doesn't look like he will be doing so. Overall, they do save all keeps though, so nicely done. I feel like the red team could have been a little bit more aggressive overall, but hey, if you're the blue team, you're counting your stars right now. You have all 3 of your keeps. That means you don't have too much crazy map pressure going into any of your lanes, which means you can potentially fight if you can get those lanes pushed out. And Diablo looking for a situation to where he could really go in here.
Yeah, we did just hit 21, so this is probably the closest we're going to have in terms of the level discrepancy here for the late game. And Lzuruha, they're pretty much, you know, they're right there on the defensive. If they take a fight at their base, that's going to actually do really good things for Spurbek, because if he goes down, he'll be back in 5 seconds. It looks like Olaf, however, is going to get caught out here, and that is actually a big negative going forward here for Lzuruha, because without 3 Vikings, that Viking boat isn't going to be hitting nearly as hard, no matter that it's actually a Viking boat with Ragnarok involved.
All right, all 5 members of Eclipse going for it. Tassadar does get caught out, but he does have that Void Dip. Dying Maul only hits 1 member here. Diablo needs to hit this Apocalypse. There it is, but unfortunately the bolt there from Sylvanas will save her. There goes the Wailing Arrow, hits 2 members. Diablo low on HP as well. CCGG chasing down Made. 3 members for the blue team has fallen. However, Diablo will come back as he does have that quick respawn. The red team continues to push here, will get the keep, and Archon threatening some kind of pressure here. Beautifully done by Eclipse as they win that team fight.
Yeah, that was a really aggressive move there from Lzuruha at the end. His Archon had just finished, and he just used now the Dimensional Warp to try to get ahead. But, you know, with that kill, and all the Vikings are now down, the healer is gone here from Lzuruha, and you can see Spurbek. Yeah, he's very likely to go down, and there he goes. Again, in the midst of a team fight, a prolonged team fight here, it would have favored the Diablo, because now he's back in action. He had that 5-second rest, but he is now good to go. Problem is, we don't really have any kind of heroics, and now with that keep done, Lzuruha is going to have to deal with catapult pressure, which is now starting to march down the mid lane.
Yep, we're going to start to see those catapults putting on a lot of pressure overall. We're going to see Eclipse at this point just grab whatever they can on the map. They're going to grab the Giants in the bottom right corner. Sylvanas is heading up to the Tribute. If she can kind of lock down that bush and make sure no one is potentially heading up there, they can grab that Tribute. But regardless, it doesn't matter really what team gets it at this point, because they are both at 0-0. But again, securing a Tribute is always nice. In fact, the red team thinks that the blue team won't even come up to that Tribute. They're heading down to the Golem here. They're going to try and catch him out of position.
Well, their intuition is totally right, but we do got that scouting drone out, and it just does find D-Money waiting in the wings for them. At this point, I mean, 0-0 and 22 minutes in, unless there's going to be some kind of big prolonged duration to this game, that Tribute is now like a very low priority. We're very much more interested in getting Grave Golems, Siege Giants, and pushing down keeps.
I like how Eclipse has left Tassadar around here. They can get an eye for when exactly the blue team will try and start grabbing the Golem, because he has that Oracle ability available. And in fact, if they wanted to, they might potentially go for an all-in all in the middle of the map if they wanted to, but it looks like they're going to go ahead and pull on back. Red team are all moving down here. They're trying to converge on the area. Diablo charges forward and goes straight for Tassadar. Nice polymorph. Unfortunately, no follow-up here, and May takes a lot of damage very quickly. Be careful, Brightwing.
Yeah, Brightwing, unfortunately, he's going to get blinked upon, and there goes the Diablo as well. No souls there. The boss is resetting, and there's nobody to pick it up. The Viking boat and the Maw, unfortunately, go down at the same time. Negates a lot of damage that could have been the difference between D-Money going down or not. The boss is now getting picked up here by Technic. He's going to tank it out. CG, GG, looking super healthy in the back there, and it will be enough zoning pressure here for Eclipse to take that boss, that Grave Golem. They got the Siege Giants now pushing in. There's only the one defender with Zagara, and she's on the retreat. This could actually be the death march.
Yeah, D-Money leading the charge here, as it looks like this keep will fall. The red team continuously pushing forward. The Golem lagging behind just a little bit, but this core potentially is in trouble. Eric the Fast, or the Swift, he went up to the top lane and he didn't grab that Tribute, but will it be helpful in any way, shape, or form? We'll find out in a second here, as the Golem is going to start beating down on this core. 10-12 seconds until Diablo or Brightwing do appear here, and the core is finally starting to take damage.
Yeah, and that's a full hit point golem with a 5-man team on the back of it. It is a for sure death knell, and you can see the core just does not stand up to the pressure. The Apocalypse will come out, and the GGs are there. It will be Eclipse moving on here in our first round match of Go4Heroes Americas Cup number 18.
Super strong early game for the blue team, but mid to late game, they had a couple of small mistakes here and there, and the red team really just kind of capitalized on that and had really solid teamwork all the way through, and of course, finishing the core. So nice job by them.